ठीक है। ओके दुर्गा, लेट्स स्टार्ट नाउ। क्योंकि
यस दादा।
ठीक है, तो लाइव पे डाल दीजिए। हेलो, गुड मॉर्निंग, जय भीम सबको। डिजिटल नालंदा के इस खास प्रोग्राम या इस खास मौके पर हम आपका स्वागत करते हैं। दिस इज नालंदा सिंपोजियम which is presented by Digital Nalanda, and here we invite experts and professionals from different streams who वो अपने इंसाइट्स और अपने रिसर्चेस और अपने काम के बारे में अपनी बात करते हैं। और इसी कड़ी में हमारे साथ आज जुड़े हैं गौरव, हमारे दोस्त। वेलकम गौरव।
Thank you so much for this, Subodh.
या तो गौरव के बारे में एक ब्रीफ सा मैं बताऊं। वैसे तो हमसे जुड़े हुए सारे लोग गौरव को बहुत अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। तो गौरव अभी जो है वो को फाउंडर है और सीईओ है एमरटेक इनोवेशंस प्राइवेट लिमिटेड के। और इनकी जो कंपनी है, इनका जो काम है वो है कि ब्लॉकचेन के माध्यम से एक एग्रीकल्चर ट्रेसेबिलिटी को हासिल करना। और इस बारे में भी गौरव हमसे बात करेंगे। और इसी तरह उन्होंने गौरव की जो पढ़ाई है वो काफी मानांकित इंस्टीट्यूट से हुई है। IIM लखनऊ से वो MBA है, और उसके पहले उन्होंने गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज औरंगाबाद से इंजीनियरिंग की डिग्री अपनी पूरी की थी। इसके साथ उन्होंने एक मराठी पुस्तक साखळीचे स्वातंत्र्य जो ब्लॉकचेन पर है उसका भी लेखन किया है। उनको अनेक अवार्ड्स मिले हैं, अनेक उनके सत्कार हुए हैं, जिसमें से एक उनका एक उल्लेखनीय है कि दलाई लामा फेलो रहे हैं वो। और अलग अलग जगह पे प्रतिष्ठान जैसे जन सेवा प्रतिष्ठान में वहां पे उनका सत्कार हुआ है। इसी तरह MGM यूनिवर्सिटी है औरंगाबाद पुणे की, वहां पर उन्होंने बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडीज में भी उनकी शुमार होता है। और हम उनके बारे में जितना बताएंगे कम है, क्योंकि ही इज अ अचीवर। ही इज एक्चुअली, वी आर प्राउड टू बी एसोसिएटेड एंड वी आर प्राउड ऑफ हिम। और उनकी लगन से, उनकी मेहनत से उन्होंने जो हासिल किया है वो चाह रहे हैं कि उसका असर या उसका काम लोगों तक पहुंचे, और उनकी एक जो स्टार्टअप है या उनका जो कंपनी है उस माध्यम से वो काम करें। तो गौरव, मैं चाहूंगा कि आप अब कंटिन्यू करें विदाउट फर्दर अडू। जी गौरव।
Thank you so much, Subodh, first and foremost, and thank you so much to Digital Nalanda and Anup sir as well. And it's a great thing to be here because whether it's with you, Subodh, or with Anup sir, or with Nalanda, or earlier with Abhiyan, it's been that relationship is even older than my entry into blockchain. So but the focus of this talk is primarily going to be startup insights and some technologies. Now, the way that I thought that this is best to go forward with is if I take it along as a part of a story, because if I just talk about theory or if I just talk about the outputs, ऐसा लगेगा कि मतलब थोड़ा मैटर ऑफ फैक्टली लग जाता है कि हाँ पहले ये लॉजिकल लगने लगता है, बट फ्रैंकली going through the journey it's not so, because the thinking process of identifying a problem, finding a solution, maybe then failing in your assumptions, that is more primary than whatever technology it is that we are thinking, because the technology will keep on changing, so problems will keep on changing, but the approach to identifying them, when do you take a risk, when do you not take a risk, all of those things I want to share, especially the portions where I did not make it through, where I faced some significant amount of failure, financial losses. That's also something that I'll cover through this portion, because I feel it is the story which will help to convey the maximum insights that I could possibly give. So this is not any teaching session. This is just a sharing session. I'm just here to talk about the things that I have in my limited time, experience, knowledge, and intelligence have been able to gather. Of course, I don't claim to be an expert on any of those things. It's just, as I said, a personal perspective, a very subjective experience of technology that I'm going to share right now. I'll also, I think I can share my screen, right? Subodh, is it?
Yes,
Can I
yes,
share?
yes.
Okay, thank you. So, I'll cover all of these portions regarding what the different icons they came into the story. अभी सब एक साथ देखने को अच्छा लगता है, but there is a story of failure and successes behind them and zigzag routes, which I'll cover. And as I said, have been connected long back. Visited Nalanda also, and that's me and Subodh. I think that was way back in 2015, 16. Even before, I think 14, 15 ke aspas. And so that's where I am right now. That's where I'm sitting. Of course, today is Sunday, so the office is empty. But yeah, what you are seeing right now is the team that I have currently. But I'll go back to the story of technology. So whenever we think of technology, I will need you to understand only the first and the last laws of technology. तो मेल्विन क्रैन्सबर्ग ने 1960 में हमको 6 laws of technology दिए, and they are actually pretty much insightful because they understand that what it is that technology needs. Now, in our 10th and 12th standard, we used to write an essay that in Marathi we used to call it Vignan He Dudhari Talwar Hai. In English, it is technology neither good nor bad, but that's incomplete because the latter part of the law is very important, which says that it is not neutral. What does it mean? It means that technology is going to take some side. It is always going to either side with the powerful or with the marginalized, which is rare, of course, but most of the time with the powerful, and it is only going to help them amplify. That is the nature of the Matthew principle, which we have in economics, that power goes where power is, money goes where money is. So we need to be aware of the fact that technology is going to disproportionately, or you could even say oppositely and disproportionately affect people. So that's the first, and the directly go to the last law, that technology is a very human activity, and so is the history of technology. So it is the human story that is also primarily the source of this. So I'll first talk about, so I did my engineering in 2007. I don't even have a first class, 59 percentage, and not really great at it. But one good thing was that I was good at mathematics, English. That helped me to get through CAT. 2013, I did a MBA from IIM, Lucknow. For the placements, I got a job offer in Dubai with Wolf Hollins. But there is this family pressure always that try out for UPSC first. So that was always there. And I was the youngest, one of the youngest to pass out from IIM at the age of 21, barely even 22. So I felt I have some years to give by, maybe the wrong decision. And I said that, okay, let's just give it for UPSC. But while doing UPSC, I realized that I have a 12 lakh rupees loan on my head from IIM, and I also need to do something about it. So UPSC teaching seemed to be a very great idea. So I started teaching for MBA and UPSC. And I told myself that, of course, I will study from the sidelines, but you can't do these through opposite things at once. At least I can't. That level of multitasking isn't achievable by me. So I kept on clearing prelims. I think I cleared it 4 times consecutively in a row. But for mains, I was not even appearing because it was such a contradiction that there was no study for the mains at all that I was doing. I was just lying to myself that, okay, someday I will study, and so on. But at least I was able to teach and get the loan passed through. While doing that, I founded an NGO by the name of Carl Sagan. It's the name of the NGO was Saganites Science Education Association. Through that, I got some good traction done, some good work done. And this was along with my co-founder from IIM classmate, Prabodhan Nawade. I built that up. Afterwards, we felt that maybe the idea. So now I'll tell you something that happens whenever it is about technology or about startups. They both come later. What comes first is the funding cycles. So there are hype cycles which keep on happening. So for example, in 2011 onwards, 12, 13 onwards, there was an edutech cycle. So anyone who was making any edutech, educational technology components, whether it is anything from attendance management, right, till digital modules or whatever you saw with Byju's. Everyone wanted to put money. And what happens is then everyone starts working and it is oversaturated. And then before you know it, the bubble is created and the bubble is burst after a few years. I've seen these cycles, and these cycles govern a lot of your market. Because if there's a one cycle going on and if you're trying to sell another thing, even if that thing is useful, it's very difficult to push it through. So we saw the EdTech cycle happening, and then me and my classmates from IIM Lucknow, 4 of them from very reputed colleges, from very reputed organizations at that time, whether it is PwC, Microsoft, Flipkart, they left their jobs, and we all of us decided that let us have an edutech startup. Now within that startup, we started working in 2015-16, but there was not much success over there, and there are quite a few learnings regarding how to understand the market. So what we did was we built an educational module completely end to end, but we failed to do the market validation. हमको ये नहीं पता था कि मार्केट को इसकी जरूरत सही में कितनी है, और अगर है तो उसके लिए वो कितना पैसा देंगे, और अगर पैसा देंगे भी तो क्या वो सस्टेन तरीके से देंगे, और अगर इतना देंगे क्या पैसा कि पूरा एक स्टार्टअप या कंपनी चलना चाहिए. All of those calculations have to be factored in, because just because if you are going to create something useful doesn't mean that it is going to be out there in the market, because there are so many factors, and because all of those things were not considered, so we had to kind of discontinue. We had put in our personal investments into it, and after 2 years of working in Bangalore, so we did everything that was happening. There was an edutech cycle, so we did an edutech company. Everyone was looking at digital things, so we built a digital module. Everyone was building startups in Bangalore, so we moved to Bangalore. So that is what we did. Things didn't actually go well, and then my classmate and co-founder actually got a great opportunity. Manish Verma, he said that let us actually maybe go back to the corporate, and that's what happened. So because of there was a need for me, that after passing from IIM in 2013, for the next 3-4 years there was just no formal experience other than the NGO and the startup, and there was a financial troubles also. So that's the beginning of, so that's when I took up a job with a corporate, and that's where I also got lucky, because my client was Mr. Alex Paul Menon, a very dynamic IS officer, and absolutely you could say very much knowledgeable about technology. And what our job was, so Alex Paul Menon said that, so the thing is, I was there as a consultant, but working directly with the government of Chhattisgarh, and that's the opportunity I took forth. So in 2017 January, the startup journey ended, or you could say that took a complete pause, because I needed to get some things right, finances right, all of those things. And I shifted to Raipur and in Chhattisgarh, and that's where I stayed for I think 3.5 or almost 4 years. And that's where many things happened which led to the things that I am here today. So primarily, what was my job? So first we'll understand that. In January 2017, I was told that my job was to digitalize all the 160 government schemes. So these schemes include everything from 26 departments, whether it is scholarships, free ships, or it is the PDS scheme, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, you name any scheme where citizens are involved directly. So that comes under DBT, direct benefit transfer. And the task was to find out the fraudulent accounts and basically help the state to improve it. So within the first state, what we realized was there are many inefficiencies that are happening within our entire journey of Chhattisgarh, and when it comes to the services. So what this required, now I'm going to tell you that approach. So the approach was the DBT team of which I was a part of. We started understanding very quickly what are the exact problems, listing them down very clearly, and then reasons for the problem. And then you start looking at the reasons. So if you look at the reasons, many of the reasons are like you need money to solve them. मतलब अगर लो डिजिटलाइजेशन है पूरे स्टेट में, तो फिर आपको पैसे देने पड़ेंगे, एंड सॉफ्टवेयर लाना पड़ेगा, लोगों को लाना पड़ेगा, कंसल्टेंट लाने पड़ेंगे, हर तरफ पैसे लग रहे हैं, एंड देयर इज अ कैश क्रंच ऑफ कोर्स, बिकॉज इट इज वन ऑफ द पुअरेस्ट स्टेट्स आल्सो, Chhattisgarh. Then what we could do without actually asking. So then one problem which was apparent was the less reuse of information. So just to give you an example of just an example of what was happening. And this is something that I realized that it's not just a Chhattisgarh problem or an India problem or a developing country problem. It's a global problem. The problem is that different departments don't have any way to share data with each other. So what happens, let's say a citizen named Kamla, she has recently confirmed her pregnancy, and because of that now she is eligible for multiple schemes which will assist her in her health as well as some finances. But these schemes belong to different departments, and these different departments are at different places. And what you are expecting from the citizen is to do the same activity, fill up the physical forms while the citizen is pregnant, and keep on doing the same activity, keep on doing the same follow up, keep on doing the same documentation everywhere. So now what to do? But isn't it the fact that it should be the government's responsibility that if the citizen is approaching them once, that should be enough, right? Then they should be eligible for everything that they are. Because why are you making the citizen go to 5 places when you are actually one place? So in fact, APJ Abdul Kalam had used a word that in India we have a next window policy. मतलब आप कोई भी सर्विस लेने जाते हो गवर्नमेंट के तो आपको बोलते हैं नेक्स्ट विंडो में जाओ. And he said that what India or what even the world needs is a one window policy, that no matter where I go, I'll get all the services. पर ये होता क्यों नहीं है फिर? ये होता इसलिए नहीं है क्योंकि आपके जो अलग अलग डिपार्टमेंट है उनके डेटाबेसेस अलग अलग हैं, वो एक दूसरे से बात नहीं करते. पर चलो अगर मैंने इनमें बात करने का एक तरीका रख दिया तो ऐसे क्यों नहीं करते लोग? तो what will happen is a direct violation of right to privacy. How? Because the moment you integrate the databases, the challenge that happens is health department wala clerk can see my caste, revenue department wala clerk technical person can see my let us say health record wala person can see. So anyone can see all of my details and my entire profile can be created, and profiling is a bad thing. And the Supreme Court had already come up with the right to privacy, I think in 2017-18. So अभी ये करेंगे कैसे? Because अगर ये सारा integrate हो जाता है, so all that let's say the citizen has to do is just go to the any department once and then automatic registration will happen. So now at this moment, see, the problem was there and there was no way to solve the problem. So parallelly while this was happening, Alex Polman sir से मेरी टीम से थोड़ी डिस्कशन होते रहते थे, and then randomly Wikipedia पे भी पढ़ लिया what is Bitcoin. Alex Polman sir said भाई explore करो what is blockchain. And while that exploration was happening, there was one thing I realized that now all of this was not, I was not doing the exploration only to solve a certain problem. Exploration has to be driven by curiosity, but at the same time you also need to be aware of the problem so that you can do the matchmaking if at all the opportunity arises. तो बिटकॉइन में एक चीज थी कि बिटकॉइन प्रोवाइड्स ट्रांसपेरेंसी wherever it is needed. Bitcoin provides privacy also wherever it is needed. For example, if you just go on Google and search for Bitcoin Explorer, Block Explorer, तो आपको सारे के सारे ट्रांजैक्शन दिख जाएंगे कि ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड क्या क्या हो रहा है. पर वो ट्रांजैक्शन किस इंसान के हैं, किस अकाउंट से जुड़े हैं, वो नहीं दिखेगा. सो इट इज बोथ ट्रांसपेरेंट एंड कंप्लीटली प्राइवेट एट द सेम टाइम. सो व्हाट ब्लॉक एंड इसके ऊपर जो टेक्नोलॉजी है उसका नाम है ब्लॉकचेन. सो व्हाट ब्लॉकचेन डज इज इट डज टू थिंग्स. अगर आपको कोई चीज परमानेंटली ट्रांसपेरेंट रखनी है तो वो परमानेंटली ट्रांसपेरेंट रख देगा. अगर आपको कोई भी डेटा परमानेंटली प्राइवेट रखना है तो परमानेंटली प्राइवेट रख देगा. तो इफ अगर ये प्रॉपर्टी का इस्तेमाल हम गवर्नमेंट के लिए करें तो कैन वी मेक थिंग्स बेटर. दैट वाज द फर्स्ट थिंग. अब चलो ठीक है ब्लॉकचेन करना है तो देन व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस. नाउ दिस वाज 2017. तब तो ब्लॉकचेन तो छोड़ो, बिटकॉइन भी किसी ने जब ज्यादा सुना नहीं था. सो द चैलेंज वाज हाउ डू वी कन्विंस इंडस्ट्री लीडर्स, ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, एवरीवन कि you come to Chhattisgarh, not even Mumbai or Delhi, but to come to Chhattisgarh in that location and start helping us out. And there was not even funding. So that's when what I started doing was, and I will encourage all of you to start using LinkedIn in a very meaningful way. Because see, every social media platform has its challenges. But the thing is, if you are just going to criticize the platform and not going to leverage it, then it's your own loss. So understanding how to leverage LinkedIn is the first thing. First, you have to get registered yourself on LinkedIn. That's where you understand what is happening. Of course, in the first time, you will be completely, you could say, blown away by what people are doing, all the big achievements and all of that. But after a while, you learn to understand that it's always You have to take some things with a pinch of salt and so on. But yes, so I went on LinkedIn. तब मेरे hardly 200-300 connections थे. आज तकरीबन 22,000 है. ये कैसे हुआ? Because I started doing what you people must have also experienced when you get spam calls, right? So I was the spammer in this case. For example, जितने भी उस 2017 में लोग ब्लॉकचेन पे काम कर रहे थे, मैंने सबको स्पैम किया, हजारों लोगों को ऐसे दिन रात बैठ बैठ के कस्टमाइज्ड, बट इट वाज नॉट अ कॉपी पेस्ट वाला स्पैम, इट वाज कस्टमाइज्ड. जैसे 6 सितंबर 2017 को मैंने ये मैसेज डाला to Dr. Jane Thompson, who was writing greatly, that Jane, I'm doing so and so, can we do? So इसके बाद में then Jane started talking, Jane and I, we started discussing. She was already, her firm had registered a revenue of $250 million in Australia. And at a very late age, she had discovered blockchain and she felt blockchain is the complete way to go. In fact, where I'm sitting right now, Jane also was here a few months ago, and I have posted the podcast also if you're interested. But back then I was sharing with Jane that, Jane, it is so challenging to convince the bureaucrats that we should go for blockchain pilots. And then Jane said, Gaurav, what if I come from Australia to Raipur? She's never been here back then, but she said, what if I come over there and, I give the presentations on your behalf? But then I said, Jane, if you come to India, I don't even have money to pay for your cab fees. And then what Jane realized said was, Gaurav, don't worry about that. I'll look after it. And 2 weeks later, immediately, she was there in Chhattisgarh. And for a few days, she gave a lot of presentations to all the different departments regarding what is the potential of blockchain. And what happened then, everyone started taking things much more seriously. So that's that's Mr. Alex Paul Menon, that's Dr. Jane Thompson. And towards the left, that is Manish Verma, the head of the DBT team. And that's me. And this was 2017, but that actually did a lot. Now, similarly, I also needed to ensure that I had another task of writing SOPs, standard operating procedure, guidelines, and also state policies, because that was also a part of my job. Now, I wanted to ensure that there should be room for exploring new technologies like blockchain while writing them. But my experience in doing policy writing was actually zero. So what I did, I again just spammed Mr. Edgar Whitley. You just find out the experts, learn from them, understand them, try to reach out to them. If they respond, then you're lucky. If not, just move on. So with Mr. Edgar Whitley, I told him that I have read all of his research papers and there's some doubts that have been needed. So he started guiding me. So with the help of his guidance, so Mr. Edgar Whitley is the professor of economics at London School of Economics. And then he started helping me a lot. So because of that, we were able to push some important policy changes also to make room for the state. In fact, 1 or 2 years later, when I was invited to London as a kind of a felicitation, I asked Mr. Edgar Whitley that, please, can I meet you? Because one of the reason is that I'm here is because I'm here just to, say thanks to you. He said, Gaurav, come over here and interact with all of our PhD candidates and also share your experiences regarding how you were able to conduct the pilots. So that was also one great experience. That's also the same institute of which Baba Sahib is also associated with. Now the challenge was, can I do something on the ground? People are convinced, there's a policy in place, but how do you actually get the solutions as fast and as cheaply as possible? So we had an idea, what if we conduct the hackathon? So India का सबसे पहले blockchain hackathon जो हुआ by a government, it did not happen in Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Kolkata, any of those cities. It happened in Raipur. And while doing that, we did not have a marketing budget. So I requested, so that's Genevieve Livell, and she was the winner of the London Blockchain Hackathon, a very global prestigious hackathon. I think the cash prize money was itself $1 million or something, and she had won that. So very famous. And I asked Genevieve that if she's there as an online jury for our hackathon, that will bring a lot of international competition also, international companies also over here, because it is very difficult to pay for marketing. So she said, Gaurav, don't worry, we'll have the blockchain hackathon and I will be there in person. So she came to Chhattisgarh also. And that's over here. Because of her, and around 130 companies participated. So we had a lot of problem statements. Now we had the solutions and we started working. And out of these 130 companies, majority of them were international companies because of the publicity that we got through her. Similarly, now with Larry Bates, so I've never met him, but we call each other brothers from another mother. And we worked extensively. In fact, he understands the Chhattisgarhi land record systems better than even the Talati and Patwaris of Chhattisgarh, because he remotely helped us to implement a land records project on blockchain. Land record में क्या होता है कि there is a lot of fudging of data. Sometimes people who don't have right to sell the land and इसलिए हजारों लाखों cases pending है कोर्ट में. अगर ब्लॉकचेन के ऊपर हम लैंड रिकॉर्ड्स डाल देते हैं तो बिकॉज ब्लॉकचेन में डेटा डिलीट नहीं होता and data editing, all of those things are actually perfectly maintained. Because of that, then the chance of doing any kind of mistakes or mischief reduces drastically. So that was the thing we did over there. अभी ये सब करने के लिए ये project, so while doing one of those pilots, we also ended up finding out around close to 1 million, more than 1 million accounts which were not really right because of the bank number missing. And we were able to kind of plug leakages of hundreds of crores only and only because we realized that if the data is not correct, then there is a lot of chance for the fund leakages to happen. Now अगर इसको सारा blockchain में बिठाना है तो तुमको funding भी लगेगी. So how do you actually gather funds? This time again we started reaching out to separate different organizations from Chhattisgarh, like World Bank, Asian Development Bank and others. To Harvard. So World Bank came over. World Bank loved the project. World Bank around funded 230 crores for the state. And while that was happening, so I was a part of the World Bank project also to head all of this. So original idea क्या थी? तो ये सारा study करते करते what we realized was as a team that all the schemes are getting activated or deactivated based on two things. आपका एक है characteristic और एक है trigger. Characteristic मतलब मेरा my name, the characteristic would mean my age, gender, caste, religion, income, all of those physical, you could say physical, financial, all of those falls under characteristics. What is a trigger? Trigger is birth, death, marriage, migration. These are major triggers. Forget minor ones for a while. Now, जब events hit करता है आपके characteristic को, तो कोई ना scheme activated, deactivate होती है. For example, birth. अभी आप ऐसे सोचिए कि many of you must have gone through the painful process of going for a validity certificate after getting your original caste certificate. पर अगर आपका birth certificate generate होता है and your birth certificate is connected directly with your family, then why don't you get a caste certificate on the spot? And वो तो जाने दो, why is there even a need for a validity certificate बार बार करने के लिए? So all of those things happen because there is not a communication between different departments. But if the different departments are connected with each other on blockchain, so what we can do is program it in such a way कि जब जब ट्रिगर एक्टिवेट होगा तभी इंफॉर्मेशन रिवील होगी. मतलब बर्थ से जुड़े ये सारे स्कीम्स, 8 स्कीम्स एज अ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव आई एम शोइंग. सम स्कीम्स लेट्स से 6 साल के बाद एक्टिवेट होते हैं. तो क्या होगा, बर्थ ये ट्रिगर ब्लॉकचेन नोट करेगा और ब्लॉकचेन को पता है, आदमियों को नहीं पता, it's only hidden in blockchain that so and so person has been born and so person because their parents belong to let's say the labor department, वो एक रजिस्टर्ड मजदूर है, तो 6 साल की उम्र के बाद उनको महीना लेट्स से 800 रुपए स्कॉलरशिप दे आर एलिजिबल. तो जैसे ही 6 साल का हो जाता है बच्चा, तो देन अ नोटिफिकेशन विल पॉप अप ऑन द लेबर डिपार्टमेंट्स ये स्क्रीन कि this person was born, this child was born 6 years ago, he or she is eligible for so and so scheme, are you going to provide the services? If not, then actually give the reason कि is the child still alive and is the child still in Chhattisgarh, then why are you not providing? So basically you take the entire governance model कैसा है आज कि आप खुद ही अपना दिमाग लगाओ कि कौन सी स्कीम अवेलेबल है, गवर्नमेंट सरकार आपको क्या दे रही है, और खुद एक एक स्कीम का फॉलो करो. Now we are reversing it कि all the triggers that will be generated which are activating the services that you are eligible for should be done. अभी इसमें प्राइवेसी कैसे बच रही है? प्राइवेसी इसलिए बच रही है because even though the department databases are connected, आपको एक साथ किसी का इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं दिखेगा because it is all through blockchain. So try to understand what is happening कि there is a problem. There are two problems. The first problem is सारे डिपार्टमेंट एक दूसरे से बात नहीं करते, उसके वजह से सर्विस ऑटोमेट नहीं होती. दूसरा प्रॉब्लम है कि अगर सारे डिपार्टमेंट एक दूसरे से बात करने लग गए तो गौरव या किसी सिटीजन का प्रोफाइल इमीडिएटली क्रिएट हो जाएगा. अभी इन दोनों को एक साथ सॉल्व करने के लिए ब्लॉकचेन की है, बिकॉज ब्लॉकचेन साइड की जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन मुझे अवेलेबल करनी है उसको मैं नीड बेसिस पे अवेलेबल करूंगा और बाकी इन्फॉर्मेशन आई विल कीप प्राइवेट. सो बोथ द प्रॉब्लम्स आर गेटिंग सॉल्व्ड बाय वन टेक्नोलॉजी and that was the idea. So what we did was we actually wrote a thought paper, co-authoring primarily with Alex Paul Menon sir, and that's basically a letter of appreciation by Alex from the government of Chhattisgarh, thanking to conduct all the works that we have done, the blockchain pilots, and these were some of the first pilots, especially in identity management, that had happened in the world, or you could say at least in India for sure. Short in the world, I'm still not sure, but yes, one of the earliest. Why all of this was happening, right? But I realized at this point, because I had done a startup earlier. So what I realized that there is always a push for me to go for exploring a technology in a complete way. पर पहले जो गलती करी थी कि हाइप है तो जल्दी से कुछ तो बना दो, इन्वेस्टर पैसे डाल देगा, वो वाला नहीं करना था. So while all of this was happening, yeah, okay. So because it was one of those earliest projects that had been done, so I was invited to give the presentation in UK Parliament, where I gave the presentation for 3 days. Began my presentation with Jai Bhim. A British Council had also covered me, and you can just go on YouTube, search my name, and British Council ke YouTube channel pe they have a video. Spent an entire day at the Prime Minister's residence at 10 Downing Street to present exactly what is happening. The Foreign Minister was also present over there, for UK ke Foreign Minister. Now, ये सारा होते होते one thing that I realized was कि मुझे जॉब में तो ज़्यादा रहना है नहीं, because I want to explore technology in a startup way. मेरा थोड़ा फ्रीडम रहता है रिस्क लेने का, पर पहले वाली रिस्क नहीं लेनी थी because काफ़ी गलती हो चुकी है उसमें. So this time what I did was nearly every weekend, जब भी फ्री टाइम रहता है, छुट्टी रहती थी, I used to travel from outside of Chhattisgarh. I used to travel from Chhattisgarh to anywhere and just give free वाले workshops, lectures, talk with people, tell them कि what blockchain does. And यहाँ पे there is something that what I call is a hotel waiter approach. So I have to become a hotel का waiter who is only going to people, different domain experts, let's say from finance, pharmaceutical industry, fintech, या फिर agriculture, all of those, and just tell them कि sir, this is the technology, and the technology has so and so properties. Help them understand technology, and it is the other person who can actually validate whether the problem is really going to be solved by the technology or not, and is the problem really big enough or not. So for 2.5 years, 3 years, I was continuously conducting workshops, hundreds of workshops back then. So just sample of the workshops. So I have taught the IRS officers also of NCR region regarding what blockchain does, what they can do. So the IRS officers also told me that these are some of the problems. I have also taught in US at Mississippi Coding Academy, and this is just from outside. But because of the workshops that I was conducting, I was also nominated as a Dalai Lama Fellow. So what happened through the Dalai Lama Fellowship was they loved the fact that I was conducting so many workshops to help people understand what is blockchain. And in fact, when Dr. Harshdeep Kamble had organized the Global Buddhist conference at Aurangabad in 2019, also had the chance to build a blockchain platform, which was inaugurated by the Dalai Lama directly. So basically, just for the Dalai Lama to show his symbolic support to blockchain technology, we just pushed some of his quotes and sayings on the blockchain platform. So that was one project that we did as a part of the outreach. And then I also started writing very extensively in Marathi language, so that it is people who will come to me with the solution. I can only give them the tools. So then Sakal Ka Agro One, Lok Satta, every Thursday I was writing. All of that came out as a book as well. And all of those things I was doing because I wanted people to understand what blockchain does, and then let them come and tell me that if you build so and so solution, it will work out. So how did the startup idea actually began? So on one such weekend, I was just conducting a workshop. Sushant Pawar, Sushant Pawar is again associated with us only. उसने सांता क्रूज के स्लम्स में एक प्रजा फाउंडेशन के थ्रू एक ये रखा था प्रोग्राम, जहाँ पे we just came to talk about what blockchain does and all, and to also see what the people over there in Santa Cruz were doing, the students especially. वहाँ पे Mr. Ava Sahib Kade from Sahyadri Farms was present, and he said कि Gaurav, you should come to Nashik and see Sahyadri Farms. So then my exposure to agriculture is not really much until that point in time. Not really much, matlab basically zero. My parents are doctors, so there's no chance for me to, I've never been exposed to agriculture, and suddenly, I had a chance to see. So then we gave a blockchain presentation in Marathi language for the farmer leaders of Sahyadri Farms, especially Mr. Vilas Shinde sir, who I think is many of you must have heard of already. And then they told us the problem. And then when they told us the problem, and then they told us ki solution also they told us. That's when I felt ki yaar, this is really good. And then immediately I put up my resignation papers. I quit my job with World Bank and the state of Chhattisgarh. And me along with the co-founders formed EmerTech Innovations and as a startup. EmerTech because emerging technologies matlab hi hamara blockchain, AI, IoT. I'll just take 1 minute too because I think I haven't covered the technological portions. How these three technologies actually work together. So before I talk about the startup story, एक छोटा सा 2 मिनट का detour लेते हैं हम, so that तीनों technology के बारे में बात कर पाएंगे. So and think of a human being. A human being में क्या होता है? सबसे पहले there are, let's say, senses. I have touch, vision, sight, smell, hearing, sound. All of those, these are senses. This is how my body understands information from the outside. So ये वाला काम करता है ज्यादातर आपका IoT, Internet of Things. मतलब these are sensors which capture temperature, humidity, weight, whether there is a stock है या नहीं है, inventory है कि नहीं है. All of these sensors that are capturing. आपके प्रिंटर का कार्ट्रिज कम हो रहा है क्या, फ्रिज में दूध कम हो रहा है क्या. All of these are actually sensors, or you could say smart devices connected directly with the internet, which are pulling in the data. Abhi, after the information comes, they will be stored in my memory. But if my memory is faulty, अगर मुझे भूल जाने की बहुत सारी आदत है, तो कुछ फायदा नहीं होगा इतना सारा इंफॉर्मेशन कैप्चर करके. So I need a way to bring immutable, unchangeable, unerasable, uneditable memory. That is blockchain. अभी इंफॉर्मेशन करेक्टली सोर्स करी, इंफॉर्मेशन करेक्टली स्टोर भी कर दी. अभी इस इंफॉर्मेशन के ऊपर जब मैं इनसाइट्स और एनालिसिस लगाता हूं, दैट इज माय एआई. सो दिस इज हाउ दिस थ्री टेक्नोलॉजीज वर्क टुगेदर. तो इफ यू वांट टू एंश्योर कि आपका कोई आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का मॉडल है, आप चैट जीपीटी को बोल देते हो कुछ कोड वगैरह करने पाइथन में, तो इट विल हेल्प यू टू डू मेनी प्रोजेक्ट्स ऑन इट्स ओन. But all of that will depend upon the data sample that you're collecting. So first of all, is the data stored securely? इसमें कुछ tampering तो नहीं हो रही है, and also whether the data was sourced rightly. Okay, so this is how the three technologies work in tandem, and these three technologies are supposed to be the foundation of Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is where all of your supply chains are powered by sensors, blockchain, and artificial intelligence, so that secondary technologies can be built also on top of it, whether let's say it is robotics, whether it is AR, VR, all of that can happen. And then that is the transformation that you can see in the industrial landscape as we go ahead. Yes, so now getting back. And so we presented a solution to IIT Bombay, that our vision rather कि हम ऐसा करना चाहते हैं. IIT Bombay gave us incubation, IIT Bombay gave us initial funding also, which was very necessary. And then and because I was conducting a lot of workshops, so I had also identified some of the brightest students who I got together as the first interns and the first employees to come together. And then we started working from the farms, living in Nashik, all living together, and also working day and night with the farmers of the Nashik region. And in fact, now the problem that I'm going to share with you, this problem was actually outlined way back by Baba Saheb Ambedkar only in his very important paper, Small Land Holdings in India. Now, this paper itself deserves its own, you could say, deep analysis. But some of the problems mentioned over there is that something we are going to cover. That's primarily this problem. So Baba Saheb Ambedkar back then, more than 100 years ago, I think in 1919, told us that Bharat mein there are too many people working in agriculture sector, and instead of going to a manufacturing, instead of going to an industrial zone, none of that is happening. So what will happen is पहले ही लैंड होल्डिंग कम है, जैसे जैसे जनरेशन बढ़ते जाएंगे वैसे वैसे और लैंड होल्डिंग बच्चों में बांट बांट के कम कम होते जाएगा. तो 10 एकड़ की जमीन 5 एकड़, 2.5 एकड़, 2 एकड़ ऐसे ऐसे कम कम होते जाएगी. अभी जो 1-2 एकड़ जमीन बची है, बिकॉज पॉपुलेशन भी तो उधर ही है, इवन राइट नाउ आई थिंक 67-68% ऑफ आवर एंटायर पॉपुलेशन इज नाउ डिपेंडेंट ऑन एग्रीकल्चर, as compared to the figure is anywhere between 10 to 20% for other countries. Now, this is the primary tragedy because India never ever saw a manufacturing sector wala boom where you could expect people to get skilled enough to be a part of and transition enough from villages to cities. That did not happen because we have a problem of hoarding a lot of wealth. We have a problem of too much imbalanced and unequal distribution of material resources. So yeah, so what you see in front of you are real receipts of farmers in the present situation. और अब देखो कि कितना पैसा मिल रहा है बेचने के बाद. And this is how the farmers explain the problem to me, by the way. Let's see, -500 रुपए. माइनस कैसे हो सकता है पैसा? अगर मैं मंडी में जाके मेरा माल बेच रहा हूँ तो माइनस कैसे जाएगा? तो अगर लेट्स से आई एम अ फार्मर, मैं मंडी में जाता हूँ माल बेचने वगैरह, लेट्स से मेरा आई हैव अ फ्यू टन्स ऑफ ओनियन और अ फ्यू टन्स ऑफ टोमेटोज एंड ऑल. तो इफ द रेट्स आर रियली डाउन बिकॉज ओवर सप्लाई हो गया है, तो 1 रुपए 1.5 रुपए में आता है. And you must have seen those cases when farmers are dumping all the produce on the streets as a form of protest. And at the same time, then the middleman will say कि यार आपका सामान मेरे पास इतनी देर रखा हुआ है, उसका जगह का भाड़ा कौन देगा, तो आप ही मेरे को पैसे दो. Some of these tragic cases have also happened. After selling hundreds of kgs and thousands of kgs of produce, see how much of money they are getting. 1 रुपए 3 रुपए 80 पैसे. This is after 4 months of effort, 5 months of effort minimum. Now, this is happening because, as Baba Sahib had already said, is because the farmers are not really connected with the market. So now what to do about it? So the problem was, just a second, I'm running. We need to bring the farmers together and make them form collectives. And this is also what Baba Sahib had said when he was talking about collective farming. Now, when you are doing collective farming, so let's say हम इसको प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने जाएंगे, फार्मर्स को बोलेंगे कि आप अकेले काम मत करो, इकट्ठा होकर काम करो, एक साथ मिलकर इन्वेस्टमेंट करो, क्योंकि 1 एकड़ की जमीन के लिए ट्रैक्टर लेना डजंट मेक सेंस. पर अगर हम 100 फार्मर साथ में आ गए या 100 एकड़ है, सबने मिलकर ट्रैक्टर लिया तो सबका फायदा हो जाएगा. दैट इज द लॉजिक. बट इफ एवरीवन इज कमिंग टुगेदर, देयर आर सम प्रॉब्लम्स आल्सो कि ये सारा का सारा इतना जो प्रोड्यूस है उसमें फिर हु इज गोइंग टू मॉनिटर दैट? देयर इज अ स्पिलेज एंड स्पॉइलेज. The other is, how are you going to ensure ki which farmer is supposed to get how much? So there's a missing farmer transparency. And the other problem is always that the farmer doesn't have a CIBIL score. तो कल को अगर आप कभी लोन लेने जाते हो, and if you have a salary, or if you have ever used a credit card, or if you ever paid back a loan, या और if you ever filed an ITR, तो आपका CIBIL score होता है. तो सिबिल स्कोर के आधार पे आपको बैंक लोन अप्रूव या डिसअप्रूव करती है. पर ये बिकॉज द फार्मर्स आर नॉट सपोज्ड टू पे एनी टैक्सेस, आईटीआर रिटर्न उनके पास होता नहीं है, दे डोंट यूज क्रेडिट कार्ड्स ऑफ कोर्स, मेनी ऑफ देम. सो देन द प्रॉब्लम अराइजेस इज दैट हाउ if I am a farmer, how am I even going to apply for a bike loan और फिर मेरे बच्चों के लिए एजुकेशन लोन? That is also major problem in India. So can we do something in order to stop that? Because as I said, the farmer is always going to be affected by the problems like exploitation by middlemen, no links with market, and the farmer collective. So what we decided, not decided, you could say learned from Sayadri Farms, because they were the ones who told us everything that this is what we need. And based on that, we created a vision that we want to connect the farmers with the consumers. But ये directly तो होगा नहीं. तो हम क्या करेंगे, जो भी फार्मर ग्रुप्स है, जैसे कि सैदरी इज द इंडियाज लार्जेस्ट फार्मर ग्रुप ऑफ फ्रूट एंड वेजिटेबल फार्मर्स, 18,000 फार्मर्स एक साथ आए हैं. I think approximately 1,000 crore revenue that they've already achieved. So if you're in Nashik, definitely visit it. So onboard करना है फार्मर ग्रुप्स को एक एंड पे, और दूसरे एंड पे कोई भी एंड पॉइंट, रिटेल पॉइंट हो गया या फिर कोई डिलीवरी ऐप हो गया. नाउ यू हैव टू प्ले द गेम ऑफ फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स. तो आपको पूरा का पूरा वैल्यू चेन, कि भाई सीड्स खरीदने से, सीड सोइंग से लेके हार्वेस्टिंग के बाद में पूरा का पूरा सप्लाई चेन यू हैव टू ट्रैक. मतलब प्रोसेसिंग, स्टोरेज, होलसेल, अगर एक्सपोर्ट जा रहा है या डोमेस्टिक जा रहा है. एंड दैट इज ऑल्सो व्हाट वी स्टार्टेड डूइंग. एंड देन वी स्टार्टेड प्रोवाइडिंग डिजिटल सर्विसेज. ये सारा डिजिटल करके वो सारा डेटा ब्लॉकचेन पे लाया. देन वी वर एबल टू प्रोवाइड मेनी सर्विसेज ऑन टॉप ऑफ इट. एंड देन व्हाट हैपेंड वाज द वर्ल्ड्स first project in which we printed 52 lakh QR codes, in which we were also giving price transparency. मतलब ऐसे टोटल 52 लाख QR कोड प्रिंट हुए, जिसमें कि अगर मैंने 100 रुपए के ग्रेप्स खरीदे हैं, आप लेफ्ट वाला ये देखना, सबसे वाला फोटो, सो यू कैन सी फ्रूट्स, वेजिटेबल्स जिसके ऊपर QR कोड है. ऐसे 5.2 मिलियन QR कोड, 52 लाख QR कोड प्रिंट हुए हैं. और QR कोड स्कैन करने के बाद आपको दिखता है कि हु इज द फार्मर, फार्मर का जीपीएस प्लॉट लोकेशन जहाँ पे ये उसने वो उगाया है, you get to see all the certificates, but the most important information, which was an idea of Sahyadri Farms themselves, not our idea, was that you could see the complete price transparency. मतलब अगर आपने 100 रुपए के ग्रेप्स खरीदे तो यू कैन सी कि इसमें 100 रुपए में से फार्मर को जा रहे हैं 41 रुपीज, फिर बाकी के 59 रुपीज का क्या हो रहा है, दिस इज जस्ट अ सैंपल डेमो. दैट एंटायर इन्फॉर्मेशन यू कुड सी. Now we have achieved something which was never done before, and it was really great, congratulatory event. But then understand the problems also. इसी प्रोजेक्ट को अगर हम करेंगे ऑस्ट्रेलिया में या स्विट्जरलैंड में या लंदन में वगैरह, तो वहां पे पीपल आर विलिंग टू पे, लेट्स से इवन $1 मोर और एटलीस्ट 50 cents मोर टू गेट दिस इंफॉर्मेशन. बट वुड दिस इंफॉर्मेशन कैरी द सेम फायनान्शियल सेंस इन एन इंडियन मार्केट, जहाँ पे हम बोलते हैं की कोथिंबीर पण फ्री मध्ये देऊन द्या यार. इफ दैट इज द मेंटॅलिटी, देन हाउ इट इज गोइंग टू रन. So our market actually becomes very much smaller, and is that market going to sustain a startup? So even though you've achieved something never done before, and technologically आपने पूरा 2.5 साल you are sweating in the fields to get this entire supply chain running, but how is it actually going to make financial sense? So what else can we do? So when there was another idea, so in 2000 you could say 19, I was invited by CERN, जहाँ पे आपका लार्ज hadron कोलाइडर है स्विट्जरलैंड में. वहां पे गॉड पार्टिकल ढूंढा था उन्होंने, और वहां पे एक टी शर्ट मिला, गिफ्टेड टी शर्ट इन विच टी शर्ट के ऊपर एक क्यूआर कोड था. टी शर्ट के ऊपर क्यूआर कोड स्कैन करने के बाद आपको ये दिखता था कि उस टी शर्ट में कितने प्रोटॉन्स है, कितने न्यूट्रॉन्स है, कितने इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है. आई थॉट इट्स अ ग्रेट इन्फॉर्मेशन, बट फ्रेंकली आई डिड नॉट फील दैट इट्स अ रियली यूजफुल इन्फॉर्मेशन, especially in the Indian context. So what we can do, तब से एक आइडिया था दिमाग में. So what, and because I come from Marathwada region, where the primary problem is with just like Vidarbha is with cotton and soybean. So with cotton, what we could do, I just got an idea that can we digitalize the whole cotton chain? And no one had also thought of that before in a QR code kind of fashion. So along with Sahyadri Farms, Mr. Vilas Shinde sir, हमने 2020 में फिर पूरा का पूरा कॉटन वैल्यू चेन समझना स्टार्ट किया. मतलब लॉकडाउन में हार्डली देयर वाज अ डे व्हेन आई वाज इन अ लॉकडाउन फेज. आई वाज कॉन्स्टेंटली ट्रैवलिंग सारा यहाँ वहाँ से, मेकिंग अटेम्प्ट्स टू ट्रैवल एज सेफली एज पॉसिबल, एंड सो मच ऑफ जुगाड़ हैड टू बी डन. पर हमने वी हैड द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ अ फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी इन मराठवाड़ा. वहाँ से फिर हमने 137 फार्मर से 180 टन कॉटन प्रोक्योर करके उसकी पूरी जर्नी हमने कैप्चर करी अक्रॉस द स्टेट, कि इट इज गोइंग टू पश्चिम महाराष्ट्र, स्पेशली इच्छल करंजी, फॉर जिनिंग, स्पिनिंग, निटिंग, डाइंग, फैब्रिक, ये पूरा प्रोसेस. एंड एंड में सह्याद्री फार्म्स ने खुद इन्वेस्ट किए पैसे और एक टी शर्ट मेकिंग फैसिलिटी बनाई नासिक में. एंड ऑल दोस थ्री दैट यू आर सीइंग, दीज आर माय डेवलपर्स. एंड देन व्हाट वी वर एबल टू डू, बिकॉज हमने सारा का सारा इन्फॉर्मेशन कैप्चर करते आ रहे थे, we were able to print QR codes on t-shirts in the world's not just the first but at this moment the only project in which टी शर्ट के ऊपर जो क्यूआर कोड है वो स्कैन करने के बाद वी कैन शो यू कि आपने 500 रुपए का टी शर्ट लिया है तो उसमें से फार्मर्स तक कितने कितना जा रहा है. अगेन आई थॉट, एंड दिस सो दिस वाज एक्चुअली प्रीटी लैंडमार्क, because for example Mr. Nitin Gadkari wore the t-shirt and live television पे he spoke about the project and encouraged people to use it. Cisco ने हमको अवार्ड दिया as the best agri-tech startup in terms of technology in India among 844 other startups. So all of these things were happening, but again you also have to make some sense to make your project viable, and all of those things were happening. While that was happening, we were also, हमने ये भी एप्लीकेशन बनाया. इसमें क्या है कि हमने, आपको सिबिल स्कोर का याद है? Now you have to understand the problem, that the problem is that there is no सिबिल स्कोर of farmers. मतलब बैंक को ये नहीं पता है कि ये फार्मर लोन चुकता कर पाएगा कि नहीं, तो इसलिए फार्मर को लोन देते ही नहीं है. पर अगर हम फार्मर का सारा इंफॉर्मेशन कैप्चर करें तो दिस इज द स्क्रीन्स ऑफ द एप्लीकेशन करंटली ओन्ड बाय सह्याद्री फार्म्स, इन विच हम सारा इंफॉर्मेशन फार्मर से डालने बोलते हैं कि अगर फार्मर ने जितना भी खर्चा किया, अगर उसने मशागत करी, अगर उसने कोई ये फेंस लगाई, कुछ भी शेड नेट लगाया, बोरवेल खरीदी, कैटल लिया या फिर कैटल बेचा, कुछ भी किया, all of that financial information in a very easy manner by clicking on pictures farmer is uploading. जब फार्मर का प्रोड्यूस बेचा जाता है तो फार्मर को इनकम मिलता है, दैट इनकम इज आल्सो वी आर कैप्चरिंग. तो बिकॉज वी नो फार्मर का खर्चा कितना है, फार्मर का इनकम कितना है, देयर इज अ चांस वेयर वी कैन क्रिएट प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस स्टेटमेंट्स which can maybe, that this is a experimentation phase right now, but this can help maybe the banks to go for it. So this is a long-term project. So we are putting effort into something जिससे हमको immediately पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे, because it's a kind of a very long-term thing. Now, in order to run long-term projects, you also going to need a lot of bandwidth. So what was happening was there was a lot of difficulty in terms of how to keep the whole startup viable. And because of those financial difficulties, some of my co-founders also had to leave. So I had to underwent very difficult times, especially in terms of what to do now. Because just because you're doing good work doesn't mean that you are entitled to ask the world कि भाई आप मेरे को पैसे दो, मैं अच्छा काम कर रहा हूँ. वो वाला एंटाइटलमेंट आप जितनी जल्दी छोड़ दोगे उतना आपके लिए अच्छा होगा. And then you have to kind of learn to understand what exactly the market needs. So that's when I met my current co-founder, Mr. Pratap Deshmukh. And Pratap Deshmukh, and that was also the time when my father had passed away. And Pratap Deshmukh sir came to me and he said, Gaurav, I think you should begin in again a new way, in a larger way. तो आप मुंबई आ जाओ. Don't work in Nashik, come to Mumbai, and from Mumbai you try to again begin a new innings where agriculture to chalne hi do, but because agriculture ka pace, agriculture I'm doing in India. I'm not working in London, I'm not working in Australia. Australia may a similar kind of company, uska annual revenue is now $5 million, but I'm not in Australia. So you have to understand your market, where you are and what exactly is happening, because technology product problem solution is one thing, but then fitting it all into together, that's another. So now what to do? For example, ये सारा project we also documented it. We published it in a research paper at the Indian Journal of Plant Genetic Resources. Sara, what are the challenges? This also made quite a lot of global news. So these are some news clippings from across the world that you can see of how the project actually took forth and how we started solving problems. We won first prize for this project in Dubai on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, every year there's a competition where 10 Switzerland ke startups or 10 India ke startups compete with each other in Switzerland. So we also got the first prize. And then the next year I was also the judge of the same competition. Bhadipa ka ek series hai in which you can see the inspired by our work that we are doing. And then Bhadipa ne hamare upar ek chota documentary bhi banaya hai regarding what we are actually doing. You can check out their channel. But yeah, ये सब लगता है अच्छा, and that's good, no denying that. I'm not trying to be humble just for the sake of it, but again, you have the major challenge was now what to do, because you have to make it ahead. So now Pratap Deshmukh sir came together and he started telling me, because you actually became like brothers only right now. You started working, came over here, team ने भी वापस ये किया, नासिक का working agriculture का भी चल रहा है. And now a new innings again had to begin. मतलब आप ऐसा रहता है कि फेसबुक पे ऐसे एक बार सेंटी होके मैंने कोट डाला था कि लाइफ इज नॉट लाइक मैथमेटिक्स, बिकॉज यू कैन लूज एवरीथिंग मोर देन वंस. So just like over here, you might have to lose everything and again begin from scratch quite a few times. That is again that in a way it was like that. So बाहर देखने को पिक्चर काफी लगता है कि बहुत ही सक्सेसफुल है, बाप रे क्या क्या कर रहा है वगैरह. But then it also has to be aligned with the market, as I said. And that's when we came to at the decision that let us explore blockchain technology in a larger way. तो जो चीज मैं पहले कर रहा था, started doing it again. I started conducting blockchain workshops for corporates and for the government. So this included everyone from cabinet ministers of the state, cabinet ministers of the center, CEO of Uber, Castrol, others. I'll show some slides. All of those corporate trainings started happening because then I needed to figure out whether blockchain has a utility in the industrial value chain. Blockchain का कुछ काम है क्या, let's say cement supply chain में. Blockchain का कुछ काम है क्या, let's say solar panels के traceability में. Blockchain का कुछ काम है क्या, let's say whether it is health records for the government. And those workshops again had to be conducted. So because again we went into a teaching phase and outreach phase. So ऐसा हुआ कि the first year of my startup I had a great revenue, second year I had a great revenue, and then there was a massive dip in the revenue in the third year because I was not delivering anything to the clients to get money. I was just working with two completely new domains, corporates and governments, because I had the opportunity to work from Mumbai, where I am right now, and again get some ideas done. But that again, things started rolling. So for example, I'll come over here because because we can again had to understand. I understand that there's a big bias of my teaching, be a bias of my sharing on blockchain technology more than AI or IoT. But that's primarily because that's where my knowledge also and experience also lies. It's primarily with blockchain. and AI IoT have only come across, but the whole point is how and when to use. So then I again thought कि blockchain नक्की कर क्या रहा है ये. So just to help you understand how blockchain technology can change the world. तो बात होती है वेब 2.0 की, वेब 3.0 की. उसके ऊपर ये चारों पॉइंट समझना जरूरी है. वेब 1.0 मतलब जब 15 साल पहले हम आधा घंटा इंटरनेट यूज करने के लिए इंटरनेट पे जाते थे, सर्फिंग करते थे एंड सिर्फ स्टैटिक वेब पेज पढ़ के वापस आ जाते थे. So when you are only reading static web pages on the net, that is web 1.0. जब आप ऑर्कुट आ गया, जब याहू आ गया, याहू मैसेंजर आ गया, all of those things started happening. ASL लोग वगैरह पूछने लगे चैट पे. That is web 2.0 because you are also putting data into the computer. तो डेटा इज नॉट वन साइड, डेटा इज टू साइड. अभी हम जी रहे हैं वेब 2.0 में. ये जो जूम का कॉल हो रहा है, इट इज वेब 2.0 बिकॉज वी आर इंटरेक्टिंग विद इंटरनेट ऑल्सो. वेब 2.0 में प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि आपको लगता है कि इंटरनेट आपका है, बट इट इज द ऑपोजिट. जब आप इंटरनेट पे आते हो तो आपको किसी के घर में भाड़े से रहना पड़ता है. आपको फेसबुक के घर में भाड़े से रहना पड़ेगा, आपको गूगल के घर में भाड़े से रहना पड़ेगा. अभी हम जूम के घर में भाड़े से रह रहे हैं. एंड एज द थिंग गोज, इफ यू थिंक दैट the service is free, it is because you are the product, you are something, मतलब your information is what is getting sold. अब look at Facebook इतना, what does Mark Zuckerberg really do? He just provides a platform. पर Facebook चलाता कौन है? The people who are making the content and people who are consuming the content are coming together on a single platform, जिसकी वजह से advertisements डालने को scope रहता है. Advertiser वहां पे पैसे डालेगा and then it will run. बट पैसा सारा जा रहा है 100% जकरबर्ग को, राइट? पर कंटेंट क्रिएटर को तो कुछ नहीं मिल रहा. सो वेब 3.0 मतलब क्या है कि इंटरनेट जो ब्लॉकचेन के ऊपर आधारित है, जिसमें कि मेरा इंफॉर्मेशन मेरे पास ही रहेगा और मेरे इंफॉर्मेशन से जो भी पैसे जनरेट हो रहे हैं, वेदर इट इज एडवर्टीजमेंट और वेदर एनी अदर सोर्स, वो उसमें मेरा हिस्सा रहेगा. आइदर 100% मुझे दे दो या फिर एटलीस्ट मेजोरिटी परसेंट मुझे वापस दे दो. एंड दैट इज द होल आइडिया ऑफ हाउ ब्लॉकचेन पूरा रेवेन्यू मॉडल उल्टा कर देता है. मतलब इवन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक बार जजमेंट ने बहुत तारीफ करी थी कि अभी हर तरफ एग्रीगेटर आ रहे हैं. मतलब द वर्ल्ड्स लार्जेस्ट कैब कंपनी उबर, खुद के पास एक भी कैब नहीं है. लार्जेस्ट रियल एस्टेट कंपनी इन द वर्ल्ड एयरबीएनबी, खुद का कुछ रियल एस्टेट है नहीं, बिकॉज दीज आर एग्रीगेटर्स. सो अ कोर्ट आया था कि ब्लॉकचेन इज सपोज टू, क्या होता है, अनदर कोर्ट, एवरी टेक्नोलॉजी विच हैज कम इनटू द वर्ल्ड हैज टेकन अवे द जॉब ऑफ द लोवेस्ट पर्सन. मतलब अगर वैक्यूम क्लीनर आ गया तो ये जो सैनिटरी वर्कर्स है उनकी नौकरी कम हो जाएगी. ड्राइवरलेस व्हीकल आ गया, ड्राइवरों की नौकरी चली जाएगी. बट ब्लॉकचेन इज अ काइंड ऑफ एन अपोजिट थिंग बिकॉज ब्लॉकचेन इज हियर टू टेक अवे द जॉब ऑफ द CEOs ऑफ दिस एग्रीगेटर कंपनीज. Because if I have a blockchain based source, open source platform in which everyone's data is owned by them, then क्या होगा कि जो डेटा बना रहा है, जो एडवर्टाइजमेंट जनरेट कर रहा है, ज्यादा मार्केट नेटवर्किंग जनरेट कर रहा है, उसको पैसा मिलेगा. And only a smaller portion will be given to maintain the platform. So that is the major change that we could definitely see, and hence it becomes very much importance. And any sensitive information that is being just shared, that also needs to be go on blockchain. So I again started understanding that what exactly blockchain does, even though I have already been working in since 4 or 5 years. So this is the kind of a transition that you could see. Web 2.0 में ये you must be familiar with most of the icons जो middle में है. You can see Gmail, WhatsApp, WordPress. इन सारे के सारे alternatives अभी बनना स्टार्ट हो गए हैं Web 3.0 में, जहाँ पे कोई मालिक नहीं है. You are the owner of your own data. And along with that, states are also kind of moving on to the blockchain. These are also some of the opportunities that we have listed personally कि कहाँ कहाँ पे blockchain use हो सकता है within the state. And these are some blockchain implementations in India, pilots which are already happening. So वापस से new innings start करके everything from scratch we started working. We got some great projects also. I was also started interacting with the government. So for 2 years consecutively, I was invited in the post-budget session by the finance minister to talk especially upon to represent the blockchain domain, the issues over there. And right now we are working with multiple industries. We are doing solar panel traceability along with Adani Group, with Mahindra Logistics, with Peterson Control Union. And all of those things you keep on learning, because with every interaction, with every session, you are it's as if ऐसा लगेगा कि मैं ब्लॉकचेन समझाने गया था अदानी ग्रुप के पास, महिंद्रा के पास एंड ऑल. बट other thing is more important because the things I will learn from them कि exactly what are the problems, where it is that value can be created, कहाँ पे वेस्टेज हो रहा है, कहाँ पे डेटा अनयूटिलाइज्ड हो रहा है, कहाँ पे डेटा यूटिलाइज करके वी कैन मेक some things. That is the rather focus. This is the thing that we are now doing with the government also, with the state. For example, सफाई कर्मचारी ले लेते हैं. सफाई कर्मचारी अगर इतने 80,000 सफाई कर्मचारी है महाराष्ट्र में. So this is the जो सह्याद्री गेस्ट हाउस पे हुआ था, in which the chairman of all the सफाई कर्मचारीज of India was also present. So with social justice department. Now immediately आप सोचो कि सफाई कर्मचारी डिपार्टमेंट में क्या हम प्लास्टिक क्रेडिट्स को ट्रैक करके, मतलब कौन कितना काम कर रहा है, अगर हम ब्लॉकचेन के तरीके से ट्रैक कर पाए, कैन वी डू क्रेडिट्स? So all of these experiments started happening. So now we are again in the new innings of our phase and understand that what it needs. So I'll just talk a few minutes and then I can open up for any questions that there might be. So the primary things that I would want to share is that with technology, if you understand something, it doesn't mean that you understand the solution also. Understanding the technology in its concepts and then understanding a solution are different things. और ये gap bridge करने के लिए जो domain का expert है, whether it is a farmer, whether it is a politician, whether it is a corporate giant, they are the ones who understand the problem much better, much more than you, because वो उनका जिंदगी है. So your primary intention should be to validate whether this solution is going to make sense with them and then start proceeding ahead. And while doing all of this, also understand the market, whether it is going to support, how it is going to happen, whether it's not, and always be ready to again begin from scratch, because your best laid plans can also be completely wasted by very arbitrary forces out there. So that is something that again that has to be developed, and that's a process that I'm also part of learning. And with that, I think I would like to conclude this. So yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity to share.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. Indeed, actually, the way you presented, indeed, it was very insightful और काफी जिसको कहते हैं ना इंटरैक्टिव वे से आपने समझाया, क्योंकि अगर उस थियोरेटिकल या उस तरह से समझते तो मे बी इस तरह हम समझ ही नहीं पाते, और आपने अपनी प्रोसेस भी बयां की. सो इस वजह से क्या होता है कि हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं या जो काम भी करना चाहते हैं, और ये जो लाइफ एक्सपीरियंसेस है, यही हमारे इस सिंपोजियम का भी बहुत बड़ा एक जो बोलते हैं ना यूएसपी है, बिकॉज आप लोग जो फील्ड पर काम करते हैं एंड पीपल लाइक यू who have these experiences, so these actually benefit our listeners and viewers. तो मैं ओपन करना चाहूंगा क्वेश्चंस के लिए, और YouTube पे और Facebook पे जुड़े हमारे साथ जो लोग हैं वो भी क्वेश्चंस अपने डाल सकते हैं वहाँ कमेंट. और हमारे पास जो क्वेश्चन आए हैं, लेट अस टेक वन बाय वन. So 3 at a time or 1 at a time, Gaurav? So Ajay K is asking, what is in it for you? How do make yourself sustainable? Okay, he's asking for how do you make money out of it, I think.
Can I also see the question? Okay, in the chat.
Yeah, chat man.
Oh, sorry. Huh. What's in it for you? Ajay, can you again explain which project? How do you make which project?
Yes.
I'll give an example. So for example, QR code on t-shirts. So अगर 500 रुपए का QR code है, 500 रुपए का t-shirt है, so उसमें we are showing how much the farmers are getting, everyone is getting, but we are also a part of it. So every t-shirt you purchase from the farmers, per QR code basis we get paid, and we printed 52 lakh QR codes for that. And let's say if there's a software that we are having for inventory management, उसका नाम है Invento, उस सॉफ्टवेयर को फिर हम चार्ज करेंगे ना मंथली बेसिस. तो एक फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी ढूंढ के उनको वो सॉफ्टवेयर बेचना, इट इज काइंड ऑफ अ डिफिकल्ट प्रोसेस. सो इंस्टेड व्हाट वी डिड, वी हैव अ पार्टनरशिप नाउ विद एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट. वेयर एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट बोलता है कि कोई अगर फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी को हमारे सॉफ्टवेयर यूज करने हैं, सो द सॉफ्टवेयर्स आर एवरीवेयर. सो यू कैन डू फार्मर डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट, यू कैन डू इन्वेंटरी मैनेजमेंट, एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस थिंग्स आर नीडेड बाय द फार्मर्स. बट अगर उसका वो माइक्रोसॉफ्ट से या इधर से लेने जाएंगे सॉफ्टवेयर, तो वो परवड़ेगा भी नहीं आसपास तक. So what we've done is we've built very smaller, specific and very cheap software which can be used directly by the farmers, and the department is helping us to onboard. So with every project you have to figure out the way to make yourself sustainable. Yeah. Then the second question, I'm curious to know how you manage the data in all these processes, because I just stopped the screen share also. Yeah. Because what you are doing needs macro level management to accomplish end-to-end delivery. So I have cloud experts for that, dedicated Amazon Web Service experts. And we do a lot of stuff to ensure that we get, we are spending minimum possible amount of money on our servers. So we might reach out to Amazon and tell them that देखो भाई इतना impactful project हम कर रहे हैं तो थोड़ा सा हमको credits वगैरह दे दो, एक साल के लिए free कर दो सारा का सारा cloud. All of those things you have to do. And then we use primarily, we have data scientists and we do it on Amazon. Yeah. And the third question, agriculture and blockchain transparency is good, but as we know, corruption and capitalism is a big problem, which don't care about marginalized, they only care about companies showing. I'm curious to know this because I've seen this recently in a movie in which they had a concept of transparency, but in city corporation thing, where all other politicians were laughing on young elected ward member who asked in meeting. Okay. So what also another thing that happens is if we are not part of the actual game, देन एकदम ऐसा दूर बैठ के देन बोलना कि यार तो ये इज्म है, वो इज्म है, कैपिटलिज्म है, ऑल ऑफ दोस थिंग्स आर ट्रू भाई, बट देन व्हाट आर यू एक्चुअली गोइंग टू डू अबाउट इट? बिकॉज लेट अस से अगर कैपिटलिज्म को अपोज करना है तो यू आर गोइंग टू नीड अ थ्योरी एंड यू आर गोइंग टू नीड अ प्रैक्टिस. सो ये थ्योरी तो सबकी क्लियर आहे, बट व्हॉट इज युअर प्रॅक्टिस? हाऊ आर यू गोइंग टू प्रॅक्टिकली एन्श्योर की तुमचं काहीतरी उपद्रव मूल्य राहील, तुमचं काहीतरी एबिलिटी ऑफ सस्टेनिंग युअरसेल्फ राहील, that you are also in touch with the powers that are now going to shape the world, which is primarily concerned with technology. So all of those things are there. So if you see, for example, कि हाँ यहाँ से there is a problem, that let's say corruption can happen. अगर हम बोलेंगे कि चलो land records में blockchain डाल देंगे, technology is only going to give you a very powerful tool, because उसको कितना adjust कर सकते हैं उस पर limitation है. Then it becomes a whole human problem. Then can you actually go up and actually try to bring better SOPs? Can you try to have some maker checker things in process? All of those things are there in just is to ensure that this is happening. But I think the most important thing out there is to get engaged, to start hitting the problems as deeply as possible. And when that is happening, I think it was Michel Foucault who said that your solutions and the thinking has to be so granular, specific, and it has to get the job done. And the exact opposite approach is to think in terms of isms. ये ism, वो ism, वो ism. Theory मेरी भी बहुत अच्छी है, but theory से मुझे कोई पैसे नहीं देता. So all I have to ensure is that how is the world actually working? Can I benefit the world in some way? And out of that benefit, can I ask a share of the pie? I can help my clients to either reduce their cost by making processes faster, or I can help them to increase their revenue by ensuring that their practices are transparently showed to the world so that they can get the customer support. And if they are getting benefit, then I can ask them कि आपको आपने 100 रुपए कमा लिए मेरे वजह से, तो 100 रुपए में से मुझे 5 रुपए दे दो. That is the way that it would work. What is the scope in IoT? So Ajay K. So we have done integrations heavily when it comes to IoT sensors. One thing they should definitely look for is sensoritics. तो आपने जो ये स्वदेश मूवी देखी है शाहरुख खान की, that is actually happened in real life with Mr. Parag Narvekar, a NASA scientist who also came to Nashik. He saw the work that is happening with the farmers, left his job with NASA and is creating 10,000 15,000 वाले सेंसर्स, जो एक बार फील्ड पे बैठ गए तो फार्मर को सारा बताते रहते हैं कि सॉइल में आज ये हो रहा है, दिस इज द सॉइल मॉइस्चर कंटेंट, कार्बन कंटेंट, different acidic contents, what is happening with the atmospheric wind pressure and all, and then can we actually आज क्या करना चाहिए. So आज अगर मैंने सीड्स डाले, सीड्स सोइंग होके अगर 2 हफ्ते हो गए हैं, then what is the next step given the weather conditions, and that data is something that is fed to the over there. So Sensortics is the name of the company who is doing primarily work in agriculture in IoT, and you do integrations with them, so please check that out. Yeah, Prashant, I noticed that some of your partners decided to switch to being employees to financially support themselves. Not just my partners, but I also in my earlier startup had to switch and become an employee. Is all of this how you were able to support yourself and your team? No. The ones who left left completely, and we just had to ensure that we are running by the revenue from the clients and funding that we got from IIT Bombay and the different grants and competition that we kept on applying to. Yeah. Will there be an internship opportunity for non-tech students, professionals in your organization? When you are working with the technology, there are always two parts. First, the people are there who code the things, and first there are the people who actually go to the field and understand what to code. So that is called the functional experts. So functional experts are needed not just in my organization, but in any organization, जिनसे एक ही चीज एक्सपेक्टेड है कि आप थ्योरी में समझ लो कि टेक्नोलॉजी क्या क्या करता है, आप फील्ड में जाके सारे प्रॉब्लम समझ लो, वो प्रॉब्लम आके ट्रांसलेट करके बताओ आपके टेक्नोलॉजी टीम को, जो उसको आके कोड कर देगी. So there's a huge scope over there. In fact, that is the world field of consulting also that you might have to look into. Have you thought of or explored tapping with other partnerships? Yes, I've met BVG group also, and we've had some discussions. And I've met the founder as well. Yeah, so we are having some, not directly Hanuman Gaikwad, but his brother. And we had some discussions and some things we'll see as we proceed. Yeah.
Gaurav, there are some viewers from YouTube. So one Rohan Kumar is asking, hello Gaurav bhai, can we use blockchain in election process? And if yes, how will we implement it?
If you go on blockchain.gov.in and just see, the Election Commission has already implemented blockchain for voting for NRI voters. And Election Commission of India has partnered with IIT Madras, Chennai, in order to build that solution. And if you search for this company called Horizon State in Australia, so Horizon State has enabled voting not just for electoral purposes, but अगर समझो म्युनिसिपैलिटी के पास है समझो 500 करोड़ रुपए, और 500 करोड़ रुपए लगेंगे प्लेग्राउंड बनाने में, 500 करोड़ रुपए लगेंगे रोड बनाने में, तो दोनों में से क्या करना चाहिए? So they in fact even made the administration participatory. They even made by bringing in blockchain voting for that also. कि आप वोट से देख तो लो. So Horizon State is the name of the company which is doing it, and but the thing is it's going to be very expensive. So at this stage to go over there, so it might not make financial sense to do that, because right now the problem is that there are not many developers. Yeah. There is also adjacency in AgriWeb that you do, which can help. Yes, and please feel free to connect with me. LinkedIn, Facebook, you can just drop a message. Yeah.
Yes. Gaurav actually Gaurav has been taking out time for us, and he is actually very busy. So I think we will get just one or two questions more. Yes, Sapna Tai. There's one question from YouTube. It is about one by Ashwa. So he says, can you tell from your experience and perspective, which startup will be, I mean, he's asking that which all startups will be good in the future for the newcomers, he's asking.
So as I said, technology will keep on changing every couple of years. Right now it's every 6 months. In fact, no one could have predicted chat GPT से कितना change आएगा. मतलब the moment GPT came, it changed my life also completely. So I cannot spend any day or even half a day without using chat GPT. And it's the fastest growing application in human history. 1 month, 100 million subscribers. So I think what the first alignment that has to be done is with understanding that what is going to be a life approach, whether how are you going to tackle things. Like one question was there earlier, whether you're going to do it with a company, whether you're going to do it as an NGO, whether you're going to do it as an individual or a startup. There are so many other ways. So first you have to figure that out based upon where you are beginning. So it is like basically playing a hand in पत्तों का card है. हर एक को जो initially पत्ते आते हैं, we don't get to decide that. But based on that, you have to maximize wherever you can jump. So I would suggest that first, rather than taking any insights, taking direct suggestion from me, it would be best if you understand your own personal specific situation, and then just have this feeling that I'm going to keep on upskilling myself, remain updated with as much as possible. And then you will hit upon opportunities where you can explore something. And then you have to decide कि exploration किधर तक करना है and वापस छोड़ के वापस नया कब करना है. So that's always a very personal decision, because an opportunity cost is always there when exploring an idea. So I think more than any specific technology suggestion that I can give, because it won't make any sense if I say कि ये 4 चीजें करो, because वो 4 चीजें कल सुबह तक वापस शायद चेंज हो जाएंगी, but what will not change is the approach. So yeah, that's what I would suggest to focus upon.
Yes. I think one Pravesh wanted to ask if he is not there. Huh. So, okay.
Okay, so I think that's Sapna, that's an agriculture specific question, but based on my limited understanding, what I can say is, in fact, the particular farmers that I'm working, okay, Pravesh, hi Pravesh. So in fact, there are some crop varieties which are being developed genetically modified, in which you can get, say, साल में 2 बार का harvest. But keeping that aside, intermittent cropping is of course one solution that the farmers are exploring. Intermittent cropping म्हणजे ऊसासोबत शेंगा पण लावून दिल्या, किंवा मग गव्हासोबत तुरीचं पण हे लावून दिलं. Intermittent cropping is one way, but there is always going to be some free time, and that's where the problem is very structural in nature, because how are you going to take this whole corpus of, and पता नहीं है कहाँ से ट्रेंड आ रहा है कि सब लोग बाकी छोड़ के वापस एग्रीकल्चर में चले जाओ, when already we are having 100 times more than needed people over there. So with agriculture, the problem is that many of these things are structural in nature. So हम कितना भी blockchain technology, AI, IoT, फसल बीमा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री, ये सारा जितना भी हम कर ले, the problem is actually too much daunting to be done. ऊपर से green revolution की वजह से now we are facing the ill effects of green evolution today. You can see how much the soil has been contaminated, and it's like you have to keep on pumping more and more drugs into the soil to get more, just the same output which you used to get earlier. So I think that's a problem beyond my ability to pretend to give a solution to.
So we are actually short of time, and also because Gaurav has been busy in lot of work, as you saw, and still we'll have questions. You can put it on the community page. हमारा digital नालंदा community page पे आप डालिए. हम कोशिश करेंगे गौरव तक वो क्वेश्चन पहुंचाए, और गौरव से भी आप ईमेल पर और उनके सोशल मीडिया पे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. यस एवरीवन, सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद ज्वाइन करने के लिए, और सबसे ज्यादा धन्यवाद गौरव को, जिन्होंने हमारे लिए समय निकाला और नालंदा सिंपोजियम के स्पेशल सेशन में वो हमारे साथ रहे. थैंक यू सो मच गौरव.
Thank you so much, Subodh. Thank you so much to the entire team of Digital Nalanda.
Take care then. Bye everyone. Thank you.